Hi, welcome to my channel. It's finally time to get this crankshaft put back together. So I've been making a few tools to make this job a bit easier. So I've made an alignment jig. Unfortunately at the moment it's just on a piece of wood screwed to the bench. Hopefully that'll be substantial enough. But this just holds the crankshaft and makes it a bit easier to get everything placed together. That. So one of the most important things is going to be making sure the tapers that hold the crankshaft together are all really nice and clean. So I like to use a bit of brake and clutch cleaner to give the taper surfaces a spray off and a wipe out. A little bit of dirt in here can stop it really sort of grabbing on the taper, so it's good to make sure it's clean. So I assemble it from the side that's keyed on first, at the little key in there. The wrong way around. If I get there in the end. So make sure the nut's nice and clean and the threads are good and the nut screws on easily. So I'm going to top this side up to 160 pounds foot, hoping that my chunk of wood stays on the bench as I do. So the next step is to put the conrod and bearing assembly onto the crank pin. So again, just give it a bit of a clean. I've got the bearing cages and the rollers that I'm going to use laid out here. So pin roller, that one, big one. Now to hold the rollers in place, I'm going to use a little bit of grease. Otherwise, it will just fall out.
Maybe you should mention your little assistant.
Got Eddie down there helping, making sure there's no spiders going to attack us. You might be able to get away without doing this, but I think it's just easier to hold everything in place. So I'll start building the rollers up into the cage. It's possibly easier to put these in from the inside. Welcome back. Finally got all the pins in and I had absolutely no help at all. So the conrods go together with both the sides with the part numbers on together and with the male rod to the front of the engine. So this is that side there, so male rod facing that way. All the rollers are in properly. And the roller come out. There's probably a little bit too much grease in these, it's just pushing the rollers out a touch. We'll get there. Hopefully. Nice and free. Let's clean off the excess grease. And just give this a bit of a squirt of brake clean. Again, clean out crankshaft. Making sure the surfaces are all good and clean. Install the button up by hand, make sure it's nice and free. Now there's several different ways you can do the next part. So we need to put a bit of tension on this nut and ensure that the crank halves are lined up. Actually made a bit of a tool so you can hold them in place. Not sure if this will work yet, but we'll give it a try. Seen these done by people putting them in presses and things like that. bit of tension on that. Should hold the crank halves in line. Now with this side, I'm not going to fully tighten it straight away because I want to get it in the truing jig and see how close it is. So I'll probably put about 50 pounds-feet on this. Conrods still feel nice and free. Not much side movement. I'm just setting up the dial test indicator. So that's got a little over a foul run out on that side. And that's got 4 foul run out on that side. So it's low there. Right, I've got it a bit closer. I'm just going to give it its final torque now, and then it'll no doubt need adjusting again once it's torqued up. It's a little bit of a sort of trial and error procedure. Forgot to not lock them. So I've got this a bit closer now and got an idea on what it needs to true it. So a step that I sort of missed out before was I need to lock tight the crank pin nuts. So I'll take it out, lock tight the crank pin nuts, and then go through truing it again, and hopefully get it all spot on with the nuts locked tighted. Quite tight to get out of this jig. I made it so that it was fairly well set in, so that it clamped the crankshaft well, but it might be a bit on the tight side. So hopefully this doesn't move too much. I'm hoping that it's quite well locked on the taper, so we'll pretty much stay where it is. Put a bit of Loctite on the threads. As with all things Harley, they like to undo themselves. Back up to the 160 pounds-feet. Nice and tight in the crank jig. Make sure the surfaces are nice and clean that we're putting the dial indicator on. So the high spot, got a little marker pen, high spot here of about 8 thou. And this one, got a high spot here of 3 thou. So it's high there and high there. So that looks like the crank halves need to be turned. So hold it on its side. A decent copper hammer. See what that does. So we've now got a high spot of about 1.5 thou, where it was 8 thou previously. About 4 thou. So after lots and lots of time messing around trying to get this crankshaft chewed up, I've run into another problem. So on the cam side of the crankshaft, it's chewed up perfect, that's absolutely fine. But on the drive side, it looks like the drive shaft is bent. So it's 5 thou out of true, dead opposite the crank pin. So that can't be that the crank knee's knocking round and it's splayed correctly because the camshaft side is right. So I think it's the output shaft. Luckily I've got another crankshaft that I've already nicked a load of bits off. So tomorrow I'll pull the output shaft out of that crankshaft, take the some bits again, get it put in here, and hopefully be able to true it up and eventually get this crankshaft back in the bike. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe.